It is that time of the year. Regular season is completed, and now the playoff brackets are settled. And FHSAA dropped their show, their bracket reveal show, and they did a good job of it. So now everybody kind of knows who plays who. I'm gonna hit you guys off the top with this. So what happened this past year when they developed the playoff ranking system? They put together a formula of how they rated teams, right? So how teams are going to get seeded throughout the season. Well, throughout the Twitterverse, folks were saying, hey, it would be nice if we knew the formula that was going into the teams getting their rankings. And I'm just going to open it up to you guys. Like, do you think that's important, the transparency of how they put together formulas for the strength of schedule and how they come up with where teams are ranked towards the end of the year so they know how they get the 1, 2, 3, and 8 seed? I'm just tossing that out there to start the show.
Yeah, it'd be important to know. It could come down to things like points scored, and those teams maybe that you can blow out the water. Sometimes as a team you pull back, but you might need to maybe score more points if that's a strategy to, be ranked a little bit higher, stuff like that. So it'd be nice to know the formula. What do you think, Derek?
Yeah, I mean, I typically shy away from the points scored being part of the equation, because then you're going to get, you got the rolling clock situation in there for a reason, and you don't want to see 80-0 scores and, first string in there in the fourth quarter. But I do think there could be some sort of, they may do this, quite honestly. I don't know. I don't even know what the current situation is. But it seems like you could have some sort of common opponent, just straight up win percentage, or maybe if you've got two teams with identical records, potentially, just aggregate all of their opponents' win-loss and base it on something like that. I don't know. I mean, that's just, I'd hate to see an equation, though, ahead of the season where a coach knows that, all right, we've got to, we got to drop 70 points on teams. I just think that makes for bad incentive. But there could be something. I think transparency is always a good thing. But I think, I'm not sure how you would tackle that. But I would be for just an aggregated. Maybe that's the way they do it. Do they currently do that, or we don't know? Is that the
kind No, I was just saying. I'm not sure the current formula, but I was just really meaning, because you're right. That's probably not the best formula to go off points wise. It seems like a good formula, but I agree with you. That doesn't necessarily tell you the strength of a team, especially if they're playing a weak team, putting those numbers up. But yeah, I think that whatever their formula is, it should be fair. So that way you could really calibrate it. Playing, common opponents, that can kind of give you a good, fair adjustment as well. So, but I think your question is should the coaches know about that formula before the season starts so they can maybe strategize? Not really knowing the formula, but do you think that the coach should know the formula, even if there was points?
Yeah, I know exactly why they want to do it. Just if you're in the locker room and you knew the formula, number one, you would try and piece your schedule together to obviously make have the formula work out in your advantage. So that's one piece of it. And then whatever little nuances go also into that formula, they would like to know, because, hey, if we know what the formula is and we can piece this together before the season or as the season goes, that's a complete advantage for the coaches. And I know we threw in points scored, and everybody knows that should not be part of the formula, because that could really blow some stuff out of the water. And that's the reason why the BCS stopped doing that when they were still the BCS. They stopped doing that point scored stuff. But let's just say it was, because we don't know anything else about it. Let's just say that was. If points scored or points allowed was part of the schedule, and you're going into week 8 and you need 70 points up against Mainland or whatever, toss out, now you have a goal in mind to get that number 1 seed. Hey, we got to blow Mainland out the water. We got to put up 70 on them. that is a really good advantage for any coaching staff to know going into it. So, and obviously that I'm just tossing it out there to see if it sticks. It's not. I don't know anything about the formula, but yeah, I can see how coaching staffs would want to know what the formula is to see how those rankings fall.
Mm-hmm. I like the transparency.
Yeah.
Sorry, dude.
No, I was going to say, it's funny. You saying mainland and blowout usually is not that's like something that it just doesn't go together. But Preston, do you know that Lake Mary beat mainland, like shut them out, like just this past Friday night? Lake Mary, a number 1 seed heading into the playoffs, but I mean, I think they beat mainland like 40-0 or something like that. So
I'm headed to it right now, bro. Let's not even guess at it. Let's not even guess.
I mean, they put a beat down on mainland, and it was funny. You just mentioned mainland and having just in your scenario and
33-0.
30, yeah,
right,
yeah.
30.
That's a big beat.
Yeah,
down.
I told you they got. Yeah, this is definitely a team to watch over there. They got one of the top young quarterbacks in the country sitting over there, so they're going to be a fun team to watch. But yeah, I don't know.
Mainland's only loss is to Seminole, who's an 8-2 team right now.
Yep.
And they lost by 1 point. It was 29-28 Seminole towards the end of October, on the 27th of October. That was their only loss of the season. 29-28 loss to Seminole.
Yep.
So, with that said, as some of these games were dropping, everybody's getting excited. Twitterverse is on fire. Just when you guys were listening in and watching the show, what games jumped out to you? What did you say, hey, that's going to be interesting? Whether it's a rematch, whether it's a brand new game, what did you say, hey, this matchup looks really fun?
I got one. There was going to be a game coming up, a Pasco versus Polk situation going on, and I think it's going to be it's going to be interesting. I believe they played each other earlier in the year, so this is going to be round 2. But Zephyr Hills Christian Academy against Victory Christian Academy could be an interesting matchup going on Friday.
Yeah, I like that too, because they got a lot of athletes on the field, and just because they're smaller schools, folks don't always pay attention to them. But Victory has been super successful for like the last 10 years, and they've been to a couple state championships themselves. Shoot, I think they even won one.
Yep.
I think so. So that's a fun one. What you got, Matt?
That was something that I noticed. Was there's a lot of game number 2s going on. There was a lot of teams that are going to get their little rematch, to see if they like the Sumner Riverview game. Riverview kind of has a little rematch to try to come for that regional. But the game, I thought the East Bay game, because the reason why I thought East Bay was an interesting game is because they're actually going to be playing somebody out of state or out of town, not just our local team. So it's somebody different coming in, and we don't really get to see that very much with our local teams playing, these Pinellas teams or Polk teams. And so East Bay, when I saw there, let me pull them up right quick. They're going to be playing. Yeah. Oh, they're playing Largo, actually. And I know we've talked a lot about Largo on this show. So East Bay's playing Largo, which will be a pretty good matchup. It's going to be a different matchup compared to some of the same ones we've been seeing throughout the season. What do you guys think about that? We talked about Largo for a while, and we know East Bay.
So I was going to give you this, Matt. I was going to give you which, and we may have to take a quick break if we wanted to plan for it. Which rematch may go the other direction?
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Does Sumner Riverview go a different direction? Does Robinson Tampa Catholic go a different direction? That was a 1-point win by Tampa Catholic. Or Robinson. I think it was Tampa Catholic. But we can go back and look. We got a few rematches that are going to hit. Oh, shoot. I think we're Armwood Wharton rematch.
Armwood Wharton rematch, yep. Yeah, that's pretty much the only couple rematches that I did see. I think probably if I had to pick one, honestly, as much as I want to see Robinson, and after seeing Tampa Catholic this week, and I know they got beat pretty bad by Jesuit, but man, they are a really good team though in general. They have some really good players, and that was a really close game. Anybody could have won it. Robinson, Tampa Catholic. I think Armwood's going to handle Wharton pretty well, like they did the first game. It was a pretty big blowout. So I think that
do you see? I kind of think this game may be a little closer than expected.
I think it'll be closer. I agree. I think Wharton's going to come more prepared, and they've meshed.
Yes,
a lot
I think
better.
Wharton. Yes, I think Wharton's going to come more prepared. I think that Wharton, even though the score was it was a 2-score game, right? I think they lost by 14. The first, but that was also the game that was delayed to the next day, right? So they had to finish like 3 quarters. They only played like 1 quarter. I think they had to finish 3 quarters the next day. All right. Armwood ended up winning by I think 2 touchdowns. Wharton had some good success versus Armwood's defense. That game. Okay. I think Wharton would be able to move the ball on Armwood. I think Armwood offensively is getting stronger and stronger and more confident in Brush, the young quarterback. I think they may let him go a little bit, but I think that game, I'm not calling it one way or the other, but I think it may be closer than people expect. Armwood has some really good wins towards the end of the season, but I think that people may be counting out how Wharton's preparation has been in those really big games.
I agree. It will be a home game for Armwood too, so that's a little advantage there, maybe. But
that's true.
I agree.
That's true.
I think that it's going to be a good game. So Armwood definitely don't come in there thinking you're just going to blow a Wharton out of the water type of team. They're going to come prepared. I know Jackson Jensen, Tariq McCant, Booker. Those guys, they're ready to perform. They're ready to keep the season going alive. So in these playoffs, you really can't take your opponent lightly. Got to go all in.
I got a game for you guys. St. Pete, number 3 seed
against
Gaither, right? Against Gaither, number 6 seed. Now, folks don't know, but St. Pete was about I would say anywhere between 7 to 10 years ago. St. Pete was a cream of the crop over in Pinellas County. They were really good for a long time. Then they kind of took a dip and they were terrible for a long time, right? Now they're resurging, and they were a playoff team last year. Now, if you don't know, but they've got a kid over there named Jeff Jones. He plays quarterback, but he's more like a running back. All right, he's averaging 204 yards per game for St. Pete. And St. Pete is a number 3 seed right now, okay? What are your thoughts on that contest?
I see this sometimes unless the private schools are going on, or when Largo had some of their powerhouse programs, or Lakewood. I think sometimes when Pinellas County and Hillsborough County match up, I think sometimes the game tilts toward Hillsborough traditionally in the trenches. I think that might be the case this time. And so I would see this game being one of those where the lower seed does probably end up winning. I think Gaither.
Yeah, we talked about Gaither a bunch and their schedule being super tough. So, their record isn't, it's not like a full indicator of what the team has. And so, St. Pete, they look really, really great too this season. They're 8-2. So it's going to be a strong game. These are the games that I really like because you don't really get to see, the Hillsborough and the Pinellas teams get to come together. So I think that's really cool. Obviously, I'm going to stick with my Tampa team, Gaither. Hopefully, they can go to Pinellas, and it's going to, they have to travel. St. Pete looks like they have the home game. So that's going to be a good game. Good shout out on that one.
Pasco County has had trouble trying to knock off Polk County teams. And the Mitchell Mustangs will have to travel to Lakeland yet again. Is there any way possible the 6-4 Mustangs can upset the 7-3 Dreadnoughts?
Is that a 1v8 seed?
That is a 1-8 seed. Yep. That's a 1v8 seed. Yep.
It would be interesting if there is a 1v8 upset. I'm not sure if it would happen in this situation. I don't see it. I just Lakeland, I don't know. It's going to be interesting, but you got to lean toward Lakeland on that. I think they might close the deal on that one, in my opinion. But
hey, we've talked a lot about Mitchell running back Corey Sims, and just for the fans out there, Corey Sims is averaging 174 rushing yards per game. Now, that's not against Lakeland caliber teams every week, but that's still 174 yards per game. And then Xander Smith, the transfer from Palmetto, Lakeland's quarterback, through the air, putting up 152 yards per game through the air. So those are probably the two X factor players offensively.
Yeah, and Lakeland has just been there, done that so much that they're just seasoned on this next, this playoff situation. Lakeland has that, that's kind of just hardwired into their program on how to approach the playoffs. So, you don't want to tangle. Lakeland may have had a down year this year, but you don't want to tangle with those guys come playoff time because they know when to peak at the right time of the year, and I think they'll get on track here and make a run in the playoffs. We'll see. We're talking a lot about Polk County. Preston, I was even looking at this bracket. Now check this out. I want to read this one to you. I thought this is interesting now.
Okay.
Now we got some of the short brackets, right? The 1v4 and 2v3. So we got some of those brackets that in the same one that I just mentioned with the rematch. Where are we at? Let me get back to it. The rematch with Zephyr Hills and Victory. Check the other part that the winner, or I'm sorry, that the next bracket down, the 2 and the 3 seed in that same bracket is Lakeland Christian. They go up against Cardinal Mooney. Lakeland Christian's a 2 seed, Cardinal Mooney's a 3 seed. Man, that I would not want to tangle. And I mean, that's a Class 1S bracket, is it?
Oh,
I mean, you're looking at look at those four teams in that side of the bracket. That is the bracket of death right there. If I had to, relative to all the other brackets, just in terms of their classification, that right there is pretty solid right there. So that's going to be interesting. That's going to be an interesting bracket to watch. Zephyr Hills Christian, Victory Christian, Lakeland Christian, and Cardinal Mooney. Man, those are some pretty good teams right there.
Yeah, I agree. I'm still in this. I'm in 2S also, and I'm looking at Region 3, and you've got Cocoa and Hudson and South Sumter and Titusville and Palm Bay, all of those teams all in that same region. Dogs are gonna come out of that one, man. Cocoa's the number 1 seed. All right, South Sumter versus Nature Coast is probably the most interesting game in that region for me. And then freaking Hudson goes in as a 4 seed against Dunnell at the 5. I'm interested in that Region 3 for that 2S.
No, without a doubt. No, Hudson's got some dudes now. They got that he's not a freshman anymore, but when I first saw him, they have a D end over there that is just off the charts. They got some skill kids too, man. Watch out for Hudson. And you mentioned Cocoa. Coco's been just a traditional powerhouse at that level. They tangle with a Eustis team, and I'm gonna tell you right now, is Coco's a 1 seed?
Yep.
Listen,
Coco's a 1.
Eustis can play some ball now. Do not sleep on that. That might be one of the best matchups right there. I mean, talking about 1 seeds. I mean, rarely you're not going to see a lot of 1 seeds if ever really get knocked off. But I mean, God, could you imagine having to try to pick one of the 1 seeds? 1v8, 1v4 is a little bit different in the smaller bracket. And if I had to pick a 1v4, and I think that Zephyr Hills Christian game, that's poised for maybe a 1v4 upset. But try to pick out a 1v8 upset on this whole bracket.
All right, so let's go to 4. All right, let's make it a little easier. Go to 4. Let's go to 3M. Let's go to 3M. Yep. All right, let's go to 3M. More likely to lose in the first round. All right, we're going to go 1v8. All right, so right now in Region 1, you got Edgewater versus First Coast. Region 2, you got Jesuit versus Pinellas Park. Region 3, you have St. Thomas Aquinas versus Plantation. And then Region 4, you got Homestead versus MacArthur. All right, so now let's take your question. Out of those 4, Derek, you got to pick one.
Well,
which one's more likely to be upset by the 8th seed?
Out of that group, well, let me tell you this about First Coast. They have a Division I quarterback. I think he's committed to Western Kentucky. They have their wide receiver depth over there is legitimately like they are one of the true, like they've got 4 dudes at the wideout spot that are legit at the high school level, and a few of them are going to be Division I FBS recruits. They got a 2025 kid, number 2. Who I believe already has offers. He's a big timer. They got a big joker, 6'3", 6'4", number 7. And then they got some undersized kids that are just flat out real good looking guys. So First Coast, don't sleep on them. They've got the type of team that has that quarterback wide receiver depth, and they've got a run stuffing D tackle over there, Israel Lucas. This kid's committed to Hampton or Howard, and this kid's a USF type of player, no doubt. I mean, this kid could play at USF 100%, 330 pounds, and then they've got some, you know what, First Coast is a pretty good team. So I don't want to say picking that up as an upset, but if I had to pick one of the 8s in this group, I think First Coast has some depth that could pose a problem for Edgewater. And Edgewater is a dynamite team, so it's hard to even say that. But if I had to pick out of this group, maybe First Coast on this one. I don't know.
Go, Matt. You've been sitting real quiet, Matt. You've been sitting real quiet. You got to put a stamp on it.
Man, that's a tough one. I'd say
it's
so
hard.
The 188.
Yep. Out of the area. No, out of the area like this, it's hard to. I mean, it's like hard to do a deep dive into MacArthur. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just, but I think the thing you need to look at is like, God, how do you pick against Aquinas? It's like, I don't care who they're playing. You almost just can't even look at who they're playing. I mean, Plantation's a hell of a team, but I mean, how do you go? So, you know,
can we
it's
see
tough.
Another Jesuit Aquinas state championship?
You absolutely can. Absolutely.
When you look at, you're saying we're looking at 3M. And traditionally speaking, you have your Edgewater, which they're number 1. I know they beat Tech last year, but Tech, will get to play Fletcher, which would be a little easier game than having to go right against Edgewater for your first playoff game. So that's pretty solid for Tech. I think Tech's going to beat Fletcher. I think Armwood's going to beat Wharton. So then you're going to see another Armwood Tech game. Then you got Edgewater, First Coast, and Jones and Oviedo. I think Jones will probably take Oviedo, and I think Edgewater should take First Coast. But like what Derek said, you can't sleep on First Coast. But so we should probably see, based off what I'm looking at, probably Edgewater Jones. So then you have another Tech Armwood game, which that was a fun game to watch just in general.
Well, let me just say this. I think there's a better chance. Well, I don't want to say. Let's just say this. Do not sleep on Oviedo.
Don't sleep on Oviedo.
Yep.
Do not sleep on Oviedo.
Yep. They're always solid in the trenches. Oviedo's going to give Jones one heck of a fight. That's a coin toss type of matchup. So now, assuming they do reach that next. It's a classic, that central Orlando type of. Traditionally, that would be a great Orlando type of setting. It's like as if you had it, just right in the city of Tampa, the two of the powerhouses going at it. They're similarly kind of built the same type of way, I guess you can say, even traditionally, with so much talent. It would be a great matchup to see, no doubt. But I would not sleep on Oviedo, and I would not sleep on First Coast. I think there's a 50-50 chance that matchup is not Edgewater versus Jones. I think you could see one or the other, one of those two matchups.
So walk with me, both you guys. Walk with me. Go over to 4S. Let's go to 4S.
4S?
All right, let's go to 4S. And a few games jump out at me. I'm looking at Region 2 and Region 4, okay? I'm looking at Region 2 and Region 4. First of all, shout out to Haines City, the home of Derwin James. They were really good when he was there. Then they fell off, but Haines City, 7 seed against number 2, Lake Mineola. Love it. Now, but look at that 3 versus 6 with Wiregrass Ranch versus Springstead. Okay? We've given Luke Knight a lot of love. We've given Wiregrass a lot of love, deservingly so. But I don't think that fans really understand how good, okay, relatively speaking, how good Springstead has been this season. And they're a 7-3 ball club. What are your thoughts on this Springstead team with currently they're rushing the ball 193 yards rushing per game. They don't really pass the ball much, but they're going to total about 230 yards per game. They tackle well. They produce a few sacks. Is there any way that this Springstead team can knock off Wiregrass?
Yes. Now,
Okay.
they played each other already, and it was a shootout. I don't want to say shootout in terms of passing, but it was probably more passing v. run game. Springstead is kind of, remember that old school East Bay kind of team that you talked about in a few episodes ago? That's kind of how Springstead traditionally has been. They're going to put up rushing yards on you. You're never going to know who's getting the ball here or there. Traditionally speaking, I haven't evaluated them much this year, but that has typically been who they are. So that's going to be a great game. You give the advantage, I think, to Wiregrass. They had the head-to-head meeting, and they've got the better seed. And they're playing at home.
Springstead is they're also 3-0, Derek, versus their common opponents. Okay, Wiregrass lost to Land O'Lakes. Springstead beat Land O'Lakes 23-0.
Yeah. Yep. And I think they lost. Did they lose to Haines City too? I thought.
Not a common opponent. Not a common opponent.
Gotcha. But so yeah, can they beat them? Absolutely. There are very few matchups on these brackets that you go in saying, yeah, there's no chance. I think a lot of these games, they're going to be solid matchups. And Springstead versus Wiregrass, I think, will be a very good matchup.
And this is where it gets interesting. Mm-hmm. All right, 2M and pop down to Region 2 for me. 2M Region 2. All right, so you're looking at a 1v8 Berkeley versus Middleton. You're looking at a rematch with Robinson and Tampa Catholic at 4 versus 5. Calvary Christian comes in at number 2 versus the Lakewood, who struggled this year, and they are a 2 versus 7. And then you look at Clearwater versus Blake.
What do you think?
Right. Interesting matchup right there.
Yep.
All right. Clearwater 6-4. The Yellow Jackets 7-3. Derek, you put your money on 8-2. You are super close on the Yellow Jackets end of the season at 8-2.
Yep.
But a successful season for them at 7-3. Now, this is going to be styles makes fights right here. And this might be where playoff experience leans towards Clearwater, but I'm not necessarily sure that's going to be the result. I think a motivated Blake team who has not had a lot of success in the playoffs over the years, this may be where Blake stands up and pounds their chest and say, hey, we're here, we're rolling, and the Yellow Jackets may advance to round 2. Any pushback or agreement on that?
No, I think that game right there, and again, I don't go to games, but if I did, this probably would be the game that I would go to right here. It's going to be interesting, but this could be that game that Blake is able to get and now put them in a position next year to now start getting that hype going. You know what I'm saying? I think this is a kind of like that fork in the road right here. And Blake can do it. It's certainly, that's definitely one of the games that jumped out. And I'm like, okay, yeah, all right, Blake and Clearwater. So yeah, it's going to be a nice little crosstown, cross the bridge situation.
That Robinson Tampa Catholic game, we're all going to be super interested in seeing that one again, roll out again. Both great teams. However, in the
call it, man. Call it. Is it going the other way this time?
Man, I love Robinson this year. They've been doing great. They've been supporting our channel and our video. Tampa Catholic, I think after seeing them this week, and like I said, I know they got beat pretty heavily by Jesuit. Jesuit look really good, but I think it's going to be a battle to the end, and just like it was last game, and Robinson got the win. Whereas, like I think Tampa Catholic will get this playoff win. But if I am going to be hollering for if Robinson can get through them, I'm going to be super proud of them to get to the second round of the playoffs. Man, what a great accomplishment for Coach and Robinson. But so when I look at 2M, we don't really get to talk about the Miami side of things, down south, down Florida. But this is where that Miami really looks, tough down there. It's like they said, all good Miami teams, let's put them in 2M. And I saw, Shaman Ahmadiyya, they're in that 1M, and I know they're one of the better ones. But when you look at this 2M over in Region 3 and Region 4, boy, it started looking scary. If you can get through your region, you're going to have to go against, probably the American Heritages. You have Cardinal Gibbons. You jump down, you have Miami Norland. They have looked incredible this year. Miami Central, Gulliver Preps, Booker T. So that'll be fun. I think that 2M, when we look at like Tampa, our heavier teams are more in like the 3M, whereas like it looks like Miami, their heavier teams are more in the 2M.
You've got in the Region 4, you have 1, 2, 3 that I know of, 3 state champions in the last 15 years in Central, Norland, and Booker T. And Booker T ran off, they won like 3 in a row. Like Booker T was like the hottest team in the nation at one point in time. They won like 3 state championships in a row. They were like the mythical national champions, if you were. So it's good to see Booker T back, quote unquote, where they belong in the playoffs and at a high seed. So yeah, and you pop up, and we're just staying on in the South Florida side, and you're looking at Region 3. You're talking about Heritage. You're talking about Cardinal Gibbons, state champs. Heritage, state champs. You're talking about St. Andrews. These are credible, quality, high quality programs. You're looking at a Region 3 and Region 4 in that 2M. So that is super sexy, man. It is super sexy. I can see a number of those teams coming out in either one of those regions.
Yeah, that Region 4 bracket. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
That's scary. I mean, when you mention the 3 recent championships, and then you throw Miami Pace in there, who I believe 15 years since their previous one, if I remember right, in the Gulliver Prep. I mean, just always that might be the toughest bracket I've seen. Even above Region 3, I think American Heritage stands out as a cream of the crop in that group. And then I think Cardinal Gibbons is on that net, and then I think everybody else kind of. I think that's a cream of the crop. The 1-2 seeds in Region 3, I think, will meet, and that's going to be a nice matchup. But man, I would not even want to try to guess. Norland should push through, and the Miami Pace against Gulliver, that's a toss up. Central Edison, obviously Central's probably got the advantage there, but I mean, just Booker T against North, they'll probably advance past North Miami Beach, but look at that second round in that group, man, that's rough.
That's a dude. That's brutal right there, man.
But this is where you're going to see. So Region 2, if I'm looking at this right, Region 2 will face up with Region 4, and this is something you could see. You could see a Robinson. I'll just throw it out there. You could see like a Robinson push through and then meet up against a Miami Central or something like that. I mean, you could see that this Tampa versus Miami will certainly come to life.
Since we're kind of looking at it, it's fun to kind of, like I said, predict the future a little bit. It'd be fun to see a Blake squeeze through all that and have to play Miami Central or Norland. Jeez, Norland has been incredible this year. If I look at all the teams, that's in this region 2, which is our region, the Tampa region. Who do you think is most likely to get through to the? I guess it would be the Final Four. Yeah, I'm gonna say Blake. I mean, Berkeley Prep. I'm sorry, Berkeley Prep. I think that they're more. I mean, I know they're ranked number 1 though, but just in general, their team seems the strongest out of all of them this season. I think we could see a Berkeley Prep get through.
I showed my hand. I showed my hand a minute and a half ago when I threw a name out there. So we'll see. I mean,
so if let's just say Tampa Catholic gets through, Berkeley Prep gets through, that would be a pretty solid game. And then you got, let's say Blake beats Clearwater and Calvary Christian, and then, man, these playoffs are fun to watch, because it could go any way, and on these Friday nights, we've seen teams that look really, really good not come in and perform, and we've seen teams that might not look as great on paper come in and perform. So you're in the playoffs now. The big boys are ready to ball out and get to the next level. We're going to see some credible games this Friday. Preston, if you could pick any game in the Tampa area for the Region 2, which game would you try to attend?
Region 2, are we still in 2M?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Robinson, Tampa Catholic.
Robinson Camp.
Yeah.
Derek?
Yeah.
No, I go Blake Clearwater, but I'm going to ask you all this since we've been talking about it. I mean, we've kind of been sitting here in this bracket. And you mentioned Berkeley Prep. Matt, do you pick Berkeley Prep out of these 8 to advance? Is that your pick?
I do. Just because the film that I have watched on them, just this season, they just seem like a little bit better team. But
no, it makes sense. Preston, what about you? Who you got?
I think I'm leaning on Calvary Christian.
Okay.
I think we'll label it correctly for me, for the favorite in that region. We'll just say the favorite. The favorite right now going into the first week of the playoffs, I would say, in my opinion, is Calvary Christian. Does that happen? I don't care if it does or doesn't. But just on paper right now, the favorite would be, for me, Calvary Christian.
All right. I think Robinson's going to make the push through. We'll see.
Love it.
This is why I like the Tampa Catholic Robinson game for 2 reasons. Number 1, it was a 1-point win by Robinson, right? Number 2, that game was also interrupted and had to postponement to the next day. So we went from a 7:30 kickoff that Friday night to a 9 a.m. start on Saturday morning. All right. And that was a 1-point win by Robinson. And we're going back to Robinson for that same game. So I like this game 1,000%. This is going to be a good one. This is going to be a good one. I got to make sure I have somebody at that game. That's a fantastic one.
I tell you, and whoever comes out of that game, this is a good actually, yeah, this Region 2 and Region 4, it's going to be interesting to watch this thing play out. And so I'm looking forward to it. This is, but is that who they will play, right? Region 2, they'll play Region 4?
Region 2, no, Region 1 will play. They're in Region 2, so they're going to play Region 1.
Okay,
3 and 4 will have to knock them each other off.
All right.
So now you got to travel with me to 1S.
Yep.
Hold on. I may have to go. Maybe it was supposed to be 2S. Let me double check. I thought I had it.
The 1M is like Carrollwood Day and CCC.
Yes, 1M. Sorry, 1M. 1M. Go to 1M. Go to 1M. So let's just advance, because right now I don't see a way Indian Rocks beats CCC. I don't see a way Northside beats Carrollwood Day. So now we're looking at a CCC Carrollwood Day matchup for round 2. Which way would that fare? You got all the star power you want. Matt Cooper, you got all the star power that a flex report could want in that game.
Yes, sir.
Which way does that float, my man?
Man, that's like you said, they got all the star power at Carrollwood Day. CCC has it seems like they just always beat Carrollwood Day every time I go and watch them. But man, I'd like to see Carrollwood Day get the win this time and get through CCC. I'd like to see Carrollwood Day. Tampa, yeah, I'm a Tampa boy. Carrollwood Day, don't do me dirty. You guys go get through India, get through Northside Christian, and let's get that big win through CCC. They're a tough team, obviously, but if CDS can come together, that any given Friday, I like. I'm on the path that Derek, with the Robinsons and the Blakes and them squeezing. I like that. I'm an underdog guy, especially when the team has the right components there. And there's actually like hope that I think that CDS could actually beat CCC if they really come correctly.
Hey, Derek, is there any way that Trinity Christian out of Jacksonville does not win that region?
I mean, honestly, their opening game with the University, that probably would be the go-to. But they've got. I was sneaking a peek more at the bottom side of this bracket here, but I think Trinity's got that. But if I'm gonna point out a sleeper team out of this bracket based on the game film I've watched, dude, Benjamin has. I'm not kidding you. Benjamin on game film at times this year looks like it's ridiculous. But I think Benjamin, and then Chaminade obviously has they're going to be probably the team to beat on this bottom end. But if Benjamin gets by Cardinal Newman, who is a tremendously talented team, that's going to be a heck of a matchup right there. But Benjamin's got a chance to make some noise in this bracket based on what I've seen. They are a super talented team, and they matched up against Cardinal Newman this year. And I think Cardinal Newman beat him in a very close game. Both those teams stack up. But Benjamin's got some dudes on that team, man, that you look at and you're like, all right, that's what it's supposed to look like. And sometimes when you get into the playoffs, you get some of those guys like that can become truly stars, like, legendary status based on what they do in these type of games. So do not overlook a third seed Benjamin in this bracket. They are just uber talented. So in that bottom half, that kind of jumps out. But that Cardinal Newman Benjamin game is going to be nice. If Benjamin advances out of that and tangles with Chaminade, that's going to be a super impressive game right there. Trinity Christian, always they may not be as loaded as they have been in the past. So University is going to give them a nice little game. But so we'll see. It's an interesting bracket. Very curious to see what happens with our local guys. CCC Carrollwood Day being the favorites in their two games. So we'll see if they advance on and play each other. It's going to be a heck of a matchup. CCC's got some mojo right now. They're going to be tough, man, to beat. CCC is going to be real tough. So we'll see. But
yeah, they're looking good. So what about the 4M bracket?
Yeah, buddy.
Down to region 2. I know we've talked a lot about a lot of these teams. These are all
our
favorite teams of the season, I feel like. But what's cool about it is we're seeing some new teams kind of get, we've obviously seen the Plants get a lot of recognition, but to see the Sumners and the Durants and the Riverviews and some of these teams coming up is a little change of pace. But so we're going to see a Riverview Sumner game, Durant, Palm Harbor, Plant City, and then Olympia versus Dr. Phillips. What game are you interested to talk about?
Oh, easy. That's easy. But before I jump into it, I wanted to state, but we were on the right page. We're on the same page with the 4M. That 4M Region 1 looks super competitive. Region 1 is super competitive with, just 1 through 8 seed. And Boone at the 8 seed is scary. Like, we know Lake Mary's on some other crap right now. They're just dogging teams. But straight through 1 through 8, though each one of those freaking games, oh my gosh, those are fun.
Yeah, when Apopka is your 3 seed, come on.
Right, Apopka is your 3 seed, correct. Seminole's your 2 seed, bro. Right. Yeah. All right. So now let's just bounce back down. Let's go bounce back down to Region 2. I think we're gonna get what we kind of wanted with Sumner, because this is gonna be the "I told you so" moment from Sumner. I think they're gonna try and flex on Riverview, and then they're gonna come back and say, "I told you so." It's gonna be Sumner Durant again with a healthy Greg, and then they're gonna try and knock off Durant, and then say, "I told you so." And then we'll likely get a Sumner versus Plant matchup. Now, you're looking at Dr. Phillips has not been as strong as they have been in the past. Olympia, I don't know a crazy amount about Olympia. So I'm just going to rely on, I know a lot about Dr. Phillips, but Dr. Phillips at a 6 seed, they just haven't been as strong as they have been in the past. So that Plant City game was ugly. The Plant versus Plant City game was just ugly, and it just doesn't make me feel like Plant City. Now they'll tighten that game up. Obviously they'll have film. They'll be better prepared, so it'll probably be a tighter game.
I think it speaks
Plant,
more to Plant. I think it speaks more to Plant. I think
you could be right.
Yeah, I think they peaked at the right time of year, man.
They peaked at the right time.
I would not be shocked to see Plant make a deep run, and it's going to be interesting. We'll see, but man, they've got that mojo going. And
Plant versus Sumner. Plant versus Sumner is the matchup that would just be super sexy again. The rematch from last year.
Yeah.
The
rematch from last year.
They got to get Riverview first, and then Durant. I mean, that man.
Yes, all rematches.
Yep.
Right. Just to talk about last year's playoff game, when Sumner and Plant faced each other, it was a pretty well-rounded game. They were going back and forth. Sumner did have the advantage. They were up by, I want to say, 5 points, and Plant had the ball, and there was only maybe 3 minutes left, or it was towards the end of the fourth quarter. They had to get a touchdown. Plant marches down, and they made it happen. They got that touchdown, and they ended up winning that game. And so you're absolutely right. If Sumner and Plant can squeeze through all that and they can play each other again, that'll be the game of the year. And Plant, I mean, they traditionally are coached very, very well. And so, they're solid just like any team. But Sumner, they're just on a whole nother level this year. When you see those...
Sumner would host. Okay. So what you have to do to the freaking Plant Panthers is get them out of their own freaking stadium, because special crap happens when it's played at miraculous plays always happen at Plant. You gotta if you're trying to win in the final minutes and you're at Plant, it's gonna be hard to do. It's a lot easier if you get them off their own turf. Special things seem to happen over there.
Yeah, it's like Lakeland Stadium. It just, for whatever reason, come playoff time, it just, every time you see a big play, you see it, home team, they got that end zone, and it just, everything going crazy. Yeah, you're right. That Plant on the road, potentially, because this is, listen, Durant is, Durant Palm Harbor, going to be interesting. Mm-hmm. I mean, Sumner does not have an easy road by any means.
Right. Understood.
Gonna be interesting.
I think Sumner will get Durant this time, but Durant's a good team. They're big, but Sumner will have Greg this time around. But so we'll look at Region 4, and that whoever makes it, somebody's got to make it through. And then you look at Region 4, who is potential teams that the Region 2 would be playing, and that's, you got Columbus, which is amazing. We have Palmetto, which has been really good this year.
West Broward's got one of the best wide receivers in the country. Cypress Bay's got a great defensive end coming off the edge and a quarterback that does some good things. But Columbus is the cream of the crop on that other side. But if the 1 and 2 face off together, you're just going to hope that Region 1 beats each other up on that side, and then whoever comes out of Region 2, assuming it's a Tampa team, you may get a Tampa versus that Seminole Orlando type of matchup if 1 and 2 play each other. And I'm telling you, the sleeper on Region 3, Palm Beach Central is loaded. Do not be surprised if Palm Beach Central makes a run at this whole thing. Yep, Palm Beach Central they're loaded. So I see them pushing through Spanish River, probably pushing through Jupiter, Boca Raton. Palm Beach Central is a very good team, and I would not be shocked to see them taking that whole side of the region. We'll see though. But yeah, that Region 1, that is not that's not one to tangle with right there. And so yeah, it's gonna be make for some great next few weeks, no doubt.
Well, let's finish off looking at 4S. Let's look at 4S. Let's get our final remarks here with 4S.
I do want to hear y'all's. Y'all have to give me one 8 seed that's going to shock the world before we wrap this up, because we've been looking at all this. Yeah, after we do 4S, I want to hear 1 8 seed that's going to shock the world.
Okay.
Gotta hear it.
All right. Okay.
So we're on 4S.
Let's look at 4S.
Man, we talked about Treasure Coast quite a bit this year, right?
Correct. Treasure Coast is doing Treasure Coast type things.
Yep.
Talked
about Niceville a little bit, that home field advantage. So they're going to have that home field advantage against Nice and potentially that Bartram Trail Navarre winner. That could be a panhandle showdown up there. But Niceville sitting there at the 2 seed in the bottom of that bracket. It's going to be interesting. Buchholz, man, they got a great team this year. They got one of the best true centers I've seen in a long time play. He is a great offensive lineman out of there. But yeah.
See, what I don't like, and I have to get some clarity, so forgive me. I don't like how the higher seeds are having to travel. All right, so you're looking at the bottom half, like look at Region 1, and you look at the bottom half of this bracket. Niceville has to go to Nice. Bartram Trail has to go to Navarre.
No, wait.
At Nice, yeah, at Navarre.
Is that?
Yeah.
I mean, did they mess that up? I mean, that doesn't make sense.
I would hope that it's a mess up, but I doubt that because this publication has been up now for a few days. But that I would need some clarification on why that is. And anybody listening to the show, drop it in the comments. But why is a 2T traveling? Why is a 2T traveling?
Yeah, I would have to believe that's probably a mess up.
But that's only in that region, it seems like. If you look over at Region 3, for example.
Right, correct.
Tulane and University will both host. And then if you jump down, Venice, it looks like Venice is. So it might have been just an error. But either way,
Region 2 looks correct.
So Region
2 looks correct.
It's showing. I'm on. Wow, it's showing at Nice.
Right.
That makes no sense at all. I don't know why that would happen.
Right. So I'm hoping with you, Derek, maybe it's a typo, but this has been up for a few days now. Somebody would have caught that and corrected it. But anyways, let's just keep moving. So I popped down to Region 4 because we kind of popped in over there. I think Venice is going to handle Lakewood Ranch handily. Immokalee, Derek, me and you went down to Immokalee. If anybody's ever been to Immokalee is a football area. Like every kid grows up playing football in Immokalee. So, isn't it is one school in that county, right, Derek? Is Immokalee it?
No, they're Collier County, but they're on that side, on that northeast side of 75. The way it wraps around, there's not a whole lot there except Watermelon Farms, which I don't know if y'all are NASCAR fans, but Ross Chastain, he's home to that LaBelle Immokalee type of area down there. But it's nothing but Watermelon Farms and good football players. But yeah, Immokalee, Immokalee, that's quite an interesting region right there. Venice obviously is just, you never want to tangle with those guys running through. They're going to make a deep run. They just always do. If there's one bracket, and this is no disrespect to anyone else on this page right here, but if there's one bracket you can almost write in Venice versus Lakeland, I mean, it just almost is like destiny year after year. It's like, oh, great. Venice and Lakeland are going to make their runs, and it's just you sit back and watch it happen. But, I mean, don't you get the sense that that's kind of in play here? Like, man, I mean, Venice, Lakeland, number 1 seeds at the top of their brackets, and they're going to be home field throughout, assuming. it just seems like it just always ends up happening. But so I don't know. I'm not sure what's that?
That's what it was last year, right? I think in the
Yeah, for the
Lakeland
state
one?
championship. Yep.
And Lakeland won, right? Or did Venice?
Correct.
Lakeland?
My only, I don't want to say my only hope, because quite honestly, I don't care who wins. If I ever root for anyone, it'd probably be the one that hadn't won a state title. So if two teams ever butt heads and one team's got a chance and the other one has been there, done that, I'd pull for an underdog probably by default. But I don't have a rooting interest, quite honestly. But you look at this, you hope potentially that Polk County this year has shown some parity amongst their teams. So you may get a Bartow or Winter Haven that pops up the second round and shock Lakeland. I don't know. But it's hard to say. But Polk County teams are going to be familiar playing at that stadium in Lakeland.
Right.
But I don't know, how does a Springstead or a Wiregrass travel into that type of environment potentially? Or Lake Mineola. It seems like such a Polk stronghold for that region. And I just don't know if that's going to change this year. I don't know. I don't see it changing, but we'll see.
Okay. So now let's try and address the final question. Which 8 seed is most likely to upset a 1 seed? Okay, that is it. We're gonna end on that answer. So you guys get your picks. I've been scrolling. I do not see one that I don't see an 8 seed that I'm confident in just yet.
That's funny.
I don't see an 8 seed that I'm confident in just yet.
It's definitely going to be I don't want to say a long shot, but it's not easy. Based on just some of my looks outside of the area, I talked a little bit about First Coast. If a team's going to do it, they're going to have to be able to score at the wide receiver spots in a passing game. I don't see an 8 seed that's going to dominate in the run game. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't be an 8 seed. But it's not like you're going to have a dominant run game as an 8 seed taking on a 1 seed. So you're going to have to win from the wideout spot and a good quarterback. And that does exist at First Coast. They do have the quarterback / wideout skill position to make a run. And I'm telling you, this D tackle that sits in the middle is just a beast. Truly one of the best run stuffing D tackles in the state. So, they do have some of those big dogs as an 8 seed at First Coast. So that's going to be interesting. Plantation, always a solid school, just looking at them, but they play Aquinas. I tell you, this may come as a complete shocker, but you have to pick a shocker. We're not picking a 1-4, right? We're picking a 1v8. So I'm gonna my shocker, and this is crazy because we're talking about a team that's won a number of state titles over the past just few years. I see Coco having a battle against Eustis. 1v8. Eustis potentially. I'm just saying, but
okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
So I'm gonna pick one.
Oh man.
I could see Jesuit and Pinellas, 1v8. I could see Pinellas possibly it's another one of those teams that could be a sleeper, come in and beat Jesuit. But
no, I actually agree with you. Yeah, you've got some D linemen over there that can cause havoc, and you've got some run game over there. That is one of those 8 Cs that can actually establish the run. You get a sack here or there, a fumble or something like that. There's some things that absolutely can happen that game. So that's a good pick, actually. Pinellas Park. Who you got, Preston? You got to pick one. It's tough.
I'm gonna go over to 4S Region 3, and I'm gonna go with Osceola with the possible upset over Mighty Treasure Coast.
Okay, I like that.
I'm going with Osceola for the number one reason is they've got a crap load of playoff experience.
Yep.
All right. they've got a staff, experienced staff, and that is it. I don't think they have enough talent to slow down Treasure Coast, but I do think they'll be prepared to give Treasure Coast some headaches. So if we get an 8 versus 1, an 8 upset over a 1 seed, I think I'm just going to lay my hat down with Osceola.
Yep, traditionally and historically, Osceola has been that powerhouse, for 20 years, or even more. But I'm just saying, in my 24 years, they have always been, even if you go in there and beat them, or you're going to come home bruised. That's just kind of the type of program they've always had. So, yep. But man, Treasure Coast, whoo.
Yeah, yeah. You're looking at a 7-2 Treasure Coast versus a 4-6 Osceola Cowboys. Cowboys with K. All right, so all right. With that said,
there's got to be one seed that falls. It's probably going to it'll probably be 1v4, and I think that we talked about that rematch with Zephyr Hills Christian. We'll see, but 1v8, man, I don't know. We'll see. Gonna be tough.
All right.
There's always an upset in football.
Good luck to every team out there round 1.
Yeah.
We'll check back in with the next show for round 2.